Roll call, I think, let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Who's missing?
Lonnie.
Lonnie. Okay, Lonnie's late sometimes. Okay, that's, and we have guests, we have, so you'll be under public to be heard.
Yes.
And we have Bianca, Brandy, Crystal, Sozana.
Salazar. It's okay.
And would you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. My name is John Pillman.
John Pullman.
P-I-double-R-M-A-double.
Okay, all right. There she is. Okay. So I guess we got a full complement. Did I miss anybody? All right.
We got another guest.
Yeah. Lonnie just came in. All right.
There's another guest over there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Marta Moreno. She's going to join us today, just to see what we do, right? Or how good we are, or whatever. Okay, glad to have you.
Thank you.
All right. Approval of the agenda. Has everybody had a chance to look at the agenda? Are there any changes to the agenda? If not, are you moving to approve the agenda? Okay, Art moves to approve. John seconds. All those in favor of approving the agenda say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the previous month's minutes. Are there any corrections or additions to last month's minutes?
She's over there.
Okay, all right. I'm easily distracted.
Sorry for the distraction.
All right. There are no corrections or additions to the minutes. Will someone make a move to adopt them?
I'll make the move.
Okay, Arlene makes a move to adopt them. Is there a second? Eric adopts them. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Public invited to be heard. That's going to be Frances Jaffe. Did I get that right?
You did get that right.
Okay, would you introduce yourself? And you've got about, well, we follow the city rule of 3 minutes, but who's keeping
I'll
score?
be quick. I'll be 3 minutes. So my name is Francie Jaffe. I'm an internal sustainability coordinator with the City of Longmont Sustainability Office. So my primary role is I work internally helping staff apply sustainability to their work. I have a couple of updates related to extreme heat. So I have some of them written on my phone, so I got them right. Zach Wentz has presented to you all recently and got feedback from you all, so I have a quick update from him. We've completed about 20 interviews with older adults, particularly in high heat island, high risk neighborhoods, and deployed an interactive cooling solution voting display, which he discussed when he presented to you all in the past. In the next few months, we'll be analyzing the results and planning 2025 engagement and comps. We just wanted, since you all gave great feedback, to provide that update to you all. And then related to extreme heat, the climate risk mapping tool that the city has developed that staff are using to help identify those extreme heat neighborhoods. It's very data driven. It has it's basically neighborhoods based on a variety of different data factors, but we really like to tell that human story along with it. So right now we have one community video. We're currently in the progress of the second community video, and I'm looking for another one to do this year. We're focusing on extreme heat, which I realize is a funny day to come talk to you about extreme heat. There's snow on the ground, but we are also happy if folks wanted to talk about poor air quality, flooding, or extreme cold, or other topics that are on the climate risk mapping tool. I believe either you've already gotten or should get an email from me kind of stating this already, but I also just wanted to come explain it in person and drop off some of my cards. If anyone is interested in being interviewed for a video, we're hoping to do one more by the end of the year, or if you know someone who you think would be interested in being interviewed for a video, these videos will go on our city YouTube page. We might use them if we're presenting to council to talk about extreme heat to kind of bring that community story, as well as go on our climate risk mapping tool page. if I have more than one person interested, we are hoping to do more interviews next year as well. I just don't know as much about the timing. It all depends on our staff who's helping us with the video and the editing on what their capacity is, but we are hoping to do one more interview this year. So I just wanted to kind of explain that in person and drop off my cards. And that's it for me. Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there, Arlene?
So I understand the extreme heat part. Are we doing anything about cold?
So right now, a lot of the prioritization has been on extreme heat as developing programs. Our Office of Emergency Management has more experience with extreme cold. So I know right now we are working with them on more of an extreme weather plan that can talk about extreme cold and extreme heat. Over time, we're also expecting there to be less extreme cold days and more extreme heat days. So extreme heat has been more of the priority over extreme cold. So not as much work around.
Randy?
Kevin Esmail from the city's emergency management division
Yes.
is going to be coming, I believe, at the beginning of December. It's in the general interest section of the Go and doing a talk called Be Ready, Longmont, that is really about all kinds of extreme weather events and how you can be prepared for them. If that is of interest to the board, you might want to check that out.
Yeah, and Kevin will have the most information about what the city is doing around extreme cold. It's just not something the sustainability office specifically has focused extensively on.
Do you want us to call you, or do you want us today to let you know if we're interested, or?
If there's someone interested today, you can let me know, or you can give me a call or send me an email. Someone can let me know maybe for next week if you're interested. Otherwise, I might just kind of keep going down my list of trying to find someone to get me. So if there's someone right now who's like, yes, I'm interested, that's great. I can follow up with you after the meeting. If not, you can think about it and give me a call.
Anybody want to volunteer today? I guess not.
That's okay. I am finding
I
that not a
would
lot of
do it,
people
but-
want to be videoed. So
I would do it, but my experiences are really boring, so I don't know.
we can always talk about it, and then we can, because
Yeah, okay,
okay.
okay, so we just get in touch with you.
Yeah, I'll put these
Okay.
over on this table over here, and
All right.
thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All right, old business. Am I on the right spot? Old business. Before we get into that, I don't know I haven't talked to any of you, so I don't know what you've got to say. But I'm just thinking, remember, just working backwards, we wanted to make a presentation if we had a recommendation to City Council in April. We wanted to meet with Harold. I wanted to say Howard, and that was Harold in March. So it gives us, it gives us next meeting, January and February, to kind of get our thoughts together. So I guess I'm thinking, by February, we really need to have our thoughts pretty well together. And so, I guess I jumped ahead here, didn't I? I should let Dia go ahead with the presentation. So, would you introduce the subject, and we'll listen to that first.
Okay. Well, I'm Crystal Salazar with the Mobility Fair Transit. I'm a mobility specialist. I do the outreach events, presentations, getting our clients registered and set up with VIA. So what VIA offers, we are a parent transit transportation. We service anyone that is 60 and up or with a disability qualifies. We do transportation in the Boulder County area. So it is Boulder within Boulder, Longmont, Louisville, Lafayette, and Superior. It is a Monday through Friday service. It runs from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. We do transportation such as medical, grocery shopping, clients that would like to come to the senior center, visit a family member, or go to the library, or go out to have lunch with a friend. It is a shared ridership, so it is first come, first serve. And what else is there? There is a fair cost. There is a fair cost of $6 one way, $6 back within the city limits. If they're in Longmont going to King Supers off of Main Street, so it'd be like $6 there, $6 back. Now, let's say they wanted to go into Boulder, there is a fare cost of $12 one way, $12 back. There is a reduced fare that we do have. They would have to qualify with their yearly income to see where their guidelines are. But other than that, we also service the Weld County area. We do Estes Park within Estes Park. With Weld County area, we are expanding out in that area where we can take clients from Greeley to Brighton. The furthest we can go up to is 120th. Some parts of Cheyenne, Wyoming to the VA Medical Center out there for veterans. And I'm trying to think what else we're doing. We're hoping that we can get Larimer County to provide transportation service out there as well for clients. Say that Longmont, we have a lot of Longmont residents that want to go into medical appointments, which we can't do right now. We can get the approval of the Larimer to get them out there. And I know we just got Milliken. We now started providing service out in Milliken for clients out there as well. Do you have any questions? Sorry. Yes.
What's the number of buses or individuals you have working during the day?
So how many bus drivers we have for the Boulder County?
Well, I guess what I'm looking at is how many do you have per day available? Because that's going to lead into my next question, which is, are you able to meet the time factors?
So that is a good question. So right now we go based on our funding. So our funding we get from the city grants, where we get our funding from, and from the counties. So when we do get that, I know they check every year to see where we're at, to see how many drivers we can hire, and where we're at full capacity. So like for instance, right now for Denver County, we service Denver County, but right now we're at full capacity because we don't have the funding from Jefferson, Adams, Arapahoe, or I can't remember the other county. So right now we're at full capacity. We're still assisting trips for those clients, but we cannot register anyone new because we don't have enough drivers. But right now for the Boulder County area, we're at a good spot where we do have enough drivers to get the clients where they need to go. And then sometimes like it is availability, so it does qualify to see where they come, like first come, first serve. So say they, you call at 8 a.m. and you're lucky that you get that trip. So what it is like, say we get there at 9, we get picked back up, but it is based off availability as well, and we're hoping to expand more, to get more funding to get the drivers, to get our drivers.
So there's no guarantee like on a medical issue, if somebody needs to get to a doctor, there's no guarantee that they're going to be picked up on time to get to the doctor.
So no, so it is, we do schedule their trip. Say that they call in at 8, they want to be at the Longmont United Hospitals by 9 a.m. We do schedule their trip. There is a 30-minute window. So we do say your pickup from home will be from 8 to 8:30 to get them there by 9, and then we schedule the return trip back home.
Okay.
Yeah, so they do have a guaranteed ride. It's just, with the so many clientele that we have. So we do have some like, we can get you there, but you can call back and see if we can get you back home. So it just really depends on the availability that we have. But we do right now, we are registering a lot of clients basically in the Boulder County area.
I guess I need clarification.
Yeah.
When you say registry people, so people have to be on the list in order to...
Yeah, you have to be registered in order to receive a training, yes. And our registration takes about 10 to 15 minutes. We ask basic information, like if they have a disability, yearly income, because that's where they go off of their reduced fare. So reduced fare is $3 one way and $3 back, if they fall in that guideline. And if they're wanting to go to Boulder, it would be $6 one way and $6 back. Yeah.
Is that a one-time registration?
Yes, one-time registration. Now let's say that they don't use our service within a year. They will go inactive in our system, but they can always call, we look up their name and reactivate them again. But that's only if they don't use the service within the year. But their name still stays in our system, but they're just inactive because they haven't used the service.
Are those standard rates? You don't consider income level of the client or anything like that? It's just a flat rate, is that right?
It's just a flat rate, for the full fare, the $6, and then the reduced fare is, the $3. Now, let's say that they're visually impaired. We do have a funding for that where they do not have to pay. So like if they're visually impaired where they cannot see at all, there is we do have that funding where we can give them their trips for free. And we're never gonna deny a person a trip if they don't have the fare cost. They still can take the trip, but we just let them know, your fare is $3 or your fare is $6. But we do not, we do not deny trips if they don't have their fare cost for that trip that day or the next couple of days, but we will bring it to their attention, And I know we do have a lot of clients that call in and say, I have no income. And it's very hard because we have to, provide that fare cost for them.
Now, you say everything needs to be scheduled. Can you respond to a circumstance where a person's in an emergency of some kind?
Yes, for an example, this morning, I had a call. This gentleman was rushed to the emergency room yesterday, and he has an electric wheelchair. He wanted to have us pick up his electric wheelchair from home and take it to the hospital. Right now, he's at Good Samaritan in Lafayette. So we did schedule the trip to give his wheelchair to him. Now, if somebody's really sick, needs to be taken in, we will try to find a way to squeeze them in, to get, just depending how full our routes are. But sometimes we do have that availability where we can do it for the same day emergency. We do have where you can book from 1 to 7 days in advance. So if they call in today at 8 o'clock and they want to go to King Soopers at 9, we can get them there today if the availability is open for the same day. But for emergencies like today with the wheelchair, we did get that trip set up for him and got his wheelchair to the hospital.
Bonnie?
I understand how crazy it must be to schedule what you do.
Yeah.
All the trips and all the rides and all the requests. Personally, I recently had a neighbor who is on walker, and she needed to go to her ortho. And she called at the beginning of the week, it was last week, I think, and she could not get a ride for Thursday. She called back on Wednesday, and they were able to give her a ride Thursday morning, but there was no guarantee when she was coming back. So what ended up happening was she got to the ortho like 3 hours early, and then hung out there, and then they picked her up like 2 hours after her appointment and brought her back. Now, looking at that, she got to do it. She got to go and she got a ride, so that's a good thing. I'm assuming you're taking measures to improve that in the future. Can you tell us what measures are being taken or what plan is being made to keep that to a more reasonable window where somebody doesn't have to call on a Monday and find out Thursday is already booked.
Yeah.
Call back on Wednesday and find out they can get picked up at 9:30 for a noon appointment and get back to the place at 3 o'clock.
It's very hard to tell, because say, like an example, today's Wednesday, we're scheduling for the following Wednesday. So we always recommend that they call within that week in advance, saying if they know they have that appointment for next Wednesday. I know it's hard because we always say 1 to 7 days. But we're hoping to improve by, expanding and growing more. With VIA, it's just the thing is with the funding is what really, for us to get those more drivers, to get more, to get on time. But with the new software system that we have, because we used to have an old software system where we were getting the trips, but it was like kicking people out when we were booking the trip, so we would have to go in and fix all that, and some people were just like, what's going on with the new software? We do that 30-minute window. But the thing is, it's very hard to tell since we are a shared ridership with money clientele, so it is like, we can get you there, but we can't get you there at the time you're wanting. And we always ask that they call back to continue to check to see if somebody canceled, because we do have cancellations throughout the day. We do have people that call in and say, no, I want to cancel my trip and schedule it for next day. So we do have those clients that call in and switch their times or cancel. So we just ask that they keep calling to see if we can get them squeezed in at that time that they need to. It's just very hard because VIA is getting busy, very busy. And so we're hoping, like, you know, with the operations manager, you know, we're just like, we're hoping to get all that where we can add more so we can get more timing and where everyone needs to be at what time.
Oh,
No, go ahead.
okay. I live in a village on Main, and since I've been there, I've heard the problems people have had, and I've been there for years. Getting to appointments and not getting picked up. Not knowing what time they were going to get picked up from the apartment, not knowing what time they were going to get picked up from the appointment. Just the unreliability of VIA. And what I, again, will say is, are you making plans for the future to, what's being done
Yeah.
to continue to improve that?
Yeah, so I can most definitely bring that up today because we do have a mobility meeting, and I'll bring that up to them in the meeting. But I know we do send out reminder calls. We send out reminder calls the night of the trip, and then we send out reminder calls the day of the trip when the clients are going to be picked up. Now, let's say that the client called in and scheduled a trip to get to their appointment, but we couldn't find them on getting back. We put it on a denial list. So we let them know, we only found you one getting there, but can you please call back and check to see if the availability is open? So I know some of our clients do forget, they think they have the round trip, and then they call back and they're like, where's my ride? So sometimes we can get them that trip back home, but if they only have one way, we take them there. But we always tell them to please call back to check because we can get them there. Or for an example, we can pick them up from the medical appointment, but we can't get them there. So that's why we always ask that they call back, and we do have that robo system that goes out, I believe 5:30 or 6 at night. Sometimes it just depends. And our robo system is not perfect. You know, sometimes it does send out the calls, and you know, IT has worked on that where we tell them we need this person didn't get the call, so they'll go in and check, and they're like, yes, the call went out at this time, and then they'll let us know what time the call went out, and we'll let our clients know where the client, you know, the call went out, and then they're like, okay, you know, maybe I missed it. But we do send out those reminders letting them know about their trips as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, you're welcome.
With all the expansion that you're doing, what's your capacity in Longmont for ridership?
Right now, they have not told us what our capacity is at. So, like an example, Denver, right now we have over 1,300 people that we had on our wait list. And
For a day or?
just through the whole year. So like what it is like the funding that we have for Denver. You know, right now Denver is very hard to get funding. So right now for them, we have over 1,300 people on the wait list, which we do follow back and call back and say, hey, we don't have the capacity. Do you still want to remain on the wait list? To see if we're going to get that funding.
That's a wait list to register for services?
Yeah, that's only for Denver County, but for Boulder County right now, we don't have a capacity. We're still registering because we do have volunteers that go in and volunteer a couple days out of the week to help us out, get clients where they need to go as well.
You use personal transportation or the volunteers?
They use our vehicles.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we also have friends and family reimbursement. So say that, an example, that we can get them to their appointment, but we can't bring them back home. So like, okay, then my friend pick me up or take me or anything, we do a mile reimbursement. So we do have that as well for clients, like say that they wanted to use that friends and family, but we can take them and just use the friends and family come back. We do have that as well as an option.
How do you let people know about that one?
Yeah.
How do you let them know?
Well, so when we register them, we actually send them, so we either do email or we mail out the information. So the clients that we register, we send it out in an email. Like we let them know about our friends and families as well as with the intake forms. And then when we mail out a little card that says friends and family reimbursement as well. Which one? This is the one I have right here. So this is what it looks like.
And we have those flyers here
Yeah.
too.
So yeah, when they register, we let them, We give them all that information when we register them as well.
So there should be rare time when someone can't be picked up unless they have no family or friends. We don't know about the program.
Yeah, we can let them know, like say, so for mobility, when the reservationists get a call and they're like, I'm transferring over a client because we only found a one way and they want us to other options. So we do have, I didn't bring that paper with me, but we do have other options for the Boulder County transportation. So one of them is Boulder Creek, we have Flex Ride, RTD I think is one of the options we give them. And then C-Trip, we give them other options and then we also let them know, like we can go in there and look at their profile and say, we do have a friends and family reimbursement program that you can sign up for as well. And then they'll let us know right then and there if they want it or if they do not want it.
Is it, I assume you have a contract,
Yes.
but I don't know who the contract is with. Is it with Boulder County?
The city
The
of
city?
Longmont Human
Yeah.
Services, right?
Yeah.
And I've got a follow-up question. I'm sorry, I was a
That's
little,
okay.
a little late. I'm Christina. I work with the Senior Services team. I'm the Department Director for Human Services. We have, one of the programs in our department is we have clinicians that are housed at some of our permanent supported housing, at one of our permanent supported housing locations at the suites where there's a large number of seniors. One of the barriers that our clinicians have encountered in getting people to and from what we're considering kind of medically necessary appointments are around substance use groups, AA, counseling. They were told that that isn't considered medically necessary, and so I'm wondering if that's something that your leadership could consider, or I'm planning on reaching out to.
What I'm thinking it is, so if a client has Medicaid, they have to go through TransDev. We can provide their personal trips, like such as grocery store, pick up a prescription or their glasses, or like going to visit a family member or friend. But if they do not have Medicaid, we can provide them those trips. It's only if they have Medicaid, they have to go through TransDev. It's just a shared contract we've had with them since we have started.
And it's
TransDev, so it used to be called IntelliRide.
Okay,
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you for answering all these
No,
difficult
yeah.
questions. I really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
because there's some clients that call in and they're like, no, and I was like, well, it does show on your profile. So when we register, we always ask if they have Medicaid.
Okay.
So like that, we let them know before, like heads up, hey, if you have Medicaid, we can only do your personal trips, but anything medical has to go through TransDev. But if they do not have Medicaid, we can do medical, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
For instance, going to Lafayette, going to Louisville, going to Boulder, do you just go on certain days?
Certain days, so.
So if I needed to get to Boulder on a
From Longmont?
Wednesday, you might not
Yeah,
go on
so
that day.
Longmont to Boulder is Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Now Longmont to Louisville, Lafayette, Erie, Superior, that's only on Tuesdays. Yeah, so there is certain days, but Longmont with the Longmont is always Monday through Friday. And if they lived in Boulder, it's the same thing. It's like coming to Longmont, it would be Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, but Boulder is always Monday through Friday. And then the same thing to Louisville, Lafayette, Superior, from Boulder is Wednesdays and Fridays.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
kind of confusing. Yeah, but yeah, so it is certain days that we do go out to Boulder from Longmont. Yeah, so we no, you're very welcome.
So you're always looking for volunteers to drive?
That's right, that is correct. So when we do our outreach events or our presentations, we do let them know we do have volunteer drivers that we're looking for. You can set up the days you want, the schedule. I think it has to be Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. So you can pick your times if you want part-time or full-time. So yeah, so any volunteer drivers that you know of, we need some. But other than
Thumbs
that,
up. Do you need any special license for the volunteer CDL or just regular
so,
driver's
but the
license, or-
volunteers, they do use our company vehicle, so they would have to take a training class at VIA. So they do have to do their driving, but, as long as you have your driver's license, but if you're doing like a bus or anything like that, I believe you do have to have the CDL.
So I just want to sort of piggyback on what Lonnie said,
Yeah.
because I have dealt with seniors at several of the other facilities, and that's the same thing that I'm hearing, is that yes, I can get to an appointment.
They're not on return.
It might be, early, or it might even be late, which causes a problem at the doctor's office. And then a lot of times they're left sitting there after the office is closed, waiting for a ride. So how do we, that needs to be fixed, because I've seen them even sitting out here in front of the senior center, waiting for a ride that, they've been sitting out there for half hour, 45 minutes. So how do we make that better for them? Because otherwise they're not going to go, and I hate to see them
Yeah,
not go to something when it's just that. And I've been on the receiving end of that, where I had a ride to Boulder, but coming back, even though they knew what time, I still was an hour late. Yeah.
yeah, I will most definitely bring that up, because I don't want to give you the wrong answer for that one, but I will bring it up in our meeting today that we're gonna have, letting them know the issues that we're having. I mean, I get those phone calls in mobility as well, and it's very hard to tell them, like, I'm sorry, it's very hard to tell clients, and then some of our clients get really upset with us. I noticed a lot too with our clients, we do also have a 30-minute window for the pickup. So say that they're here at the senior center and their pickup starts from 2 to 2:30. So it could be anywhere that the driver can get here at 2 or 2:30. So I know that is one thing too, because some do forget that they have that 30-minute window. But I would most definitely bring it up in our meeting today and let them know the issues that we're having. Clients only get one way, or they have to wait 2 hours, go to their appointment early when their appointment's not till 12. So yeah, I will most definitely bring that up, because I don't want to give you the wrong answer and be like, but I will definitely bring that up in the meeting today.
Where do you put your funding?
So I know we get it through grants through the county side, but I'm not quite sure which ones we get it from.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
The funding, where we get our funding from, so I know it's through grants and the county, but I'm not sure like which department we get the funding from.
Agency.
Yeah, agencies.
The city of Longmont also funds at a pretty good amount.
Yeah,
They both.
the city of Longmont.
The city of Longmont.
City level, yeah.
So that's not, it boils down to not enough funding, which means that the agency needs more funding, other resource for funding.
Yeah.
So you guys can provide more of the stuff that you're falling behind, or can't provide because of the funding. So
Yeah.
funding is needed, I
Yeah.
guess. So that's it.
To piggyback on her point, do you feel just personally that the demand is greater than your resources?
That's a good question. The demand, like for our clients, the demand of what they need. I honestly.
Well, to address some of the concerns
Yeah.
that Lonnie and.
No, it's a big, I mean, like I said, I get those phone calls and it's very hard to find, like they only give it one way, and I wish I could personally help them and be like, well, let me go pick you up, but I can't do that. It's very hard. It's very hard, and it is hard for our seniors that do dialysis, that do radiation for cancer, and that's very hard, because I personally, my grandmother passed away from cancer, and hearing them saying like, this is very important, like I only got it one way, but I can't get away back home. So that does concern me a lot personally, but it goes based off of like how our funding works and everything like that, because not only like our funding, we have to hire like more drivers to get more, to get our clients to where they need to go as well.
So it sounds like the demand is there.
Yeah, most definitely.
And I know in the Hispanic population, sometimes they're feel intimidated, they feel shy, they don't know, no me pueden llevar, porque, and knowing that there are backups, like friends or whatever, that they need to know, or you have a list, okay. When the llevar can get there, pero no me pueden regresar,
Sí.
can turn back, so you need to have that list to know.
Yeah, we have that list to provide them to as
And
well.
if there's out there, you know,
Yeah.
within the family that you transport, you have a family or whatever, you know, you need to let them know that we are, you know, to put them on the list, so they
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Is there, again, to follow up on her question, are there populations you think that are underserved by your service?
Populations that are underserved in our service, I don't believe so. I think it's just,
That's a hard question, I realize,
Yeah.
but I mean,
yeah,
does anything jump out? You know?
And if they are, it's because they don't know, they don't understand. Right, and there is believe me, understand, yeah. Because they don't know, they don't understand, they don't know how about to go about it.
Yeah.
So,
we have a lot
Might
of,
be that.
like, for example, Hispanic people that call in and they're just like, we never knew of your service, like, you know, and that's why we try to go to these outreach events to let people know about our service or our presentations or like anything like that with our meetings. Like, for example, like Frederick DeCono, we do service out there as well. There's a lot of clients that didn't know of our service, but it's like we go out there and do our outreach, and there's a lot of Hispanics as well that like, oh, I didn't know my dad needs to get to dialysis. You know, can you get him registered? And we let them know everything about our service, and some of them even cry because they're like, I never knew, you know, that there's services out there that would help, you know, clients like us.
If I can speak to that outreach piece real quick, we do have VIA come do programs here,
Yeah.
both in Spanish and in English. Our resource specialists tell folks about VIA, the front desk tells folks about
Yeah.
VIA. There's a section about transportation in the resource guide and the catalog, so we try to help get
Yeah.
the word out.
Yeah, no, I know there's a lot of agencies that do, but I honestly feel like they've heard of it, but they don't know exactly what we do or how we operate. So it's like, you know, some clients in Brighton, oh, I got your services through the senior center out in Brighton, and they're bilingual. And I'm like, okay, well, great. And they're like, I always see people come and go on the bus, but I never knew what exactly it was. But I was like, okay. So we do have services that, you know, let our community know and let other clients know this is what we do. But they're just not sure, or like they're too shy, or they don't know like exactly what it is all about.
Lottie?
This idea just popped into my head. Do places that receive clients from the buses, you know, that they bring the clients to by bus, also have information on VIA? Places like dialysis, you know,
And
things like
some
that.
of our
Do they?
drivers hand out flyers as well.
Okay,
Our drivers have, like, say that we got, right now, Dacono and Frederick and Firestone, we got an extra bus, but that may end in December, I believe, not unless we get the funding to keep that extra driver out there.
okay.
So, like, we have our drivers drop off flyers at the senior center, rec center, or when we do our outreach events, our presentations, we leave flyers there as well.
Mhm.
So we do let them know about the service.
I don't know how this would be, so I'm kind of figuring out as I'm talking. But if there are places that seniors generally go to
Yeah.
for treatment, for, you know, doctor's appointments or whatever, do they have, or would it be a benefit for them to have information on how people can use VIA? I mean, is VIA promoted there? Is it something they can get information on from the places that they go to?
Yeah.
So say they don't know about VIA, they get rides for the first times that they use the center, the medical center, but then they're able to get information on what they can do in the future as far as get VIA rides.
Yeah. So
Is that promoted?
Yeah. So I know
Okay.
how some of our clients that go to the dialysis center here in Longmont, they have, you know, the dialysis people let them know, hey, you know, because we do have clients that sometimes just want to jump on the bus, but they're not registered.
Right.
And then they call and they get them registered right away, and they're like, and we let them know about all our information as well. So it is out there. I just feel like Some of them quite don't understand.
Right.
Yeah, so it is out there. There's a lot of information out there, even on our website as well. Yeah, and then and also our recreation centers have flyers posted up and everything like that.
Art,
Did I hear you say that those are in Spanish as well?
So we just updated these ones. So we just got these ones in last week. So we're waiting for our Spanish brochures to come in as well. But these ones are our most updated ones from the last ones. And then it's just more about the fare cost, because I know back then it was $5, but they upped it up to $6. Yeah, so these are, we're just waiting on our Spanish brochures.
any other questions?
I have one.
Yes.
Microtransit, any thoughts on how the microtransit, when it fires up here in Longmont,
Yes.
the impact that'll have on your operation?
Yes, so we just talked about that in our operations meeting. So we are, hoping that we can, I know there for a minute when it started, we had meetings with them, hoping that VIA can help out with them, but they decided to go, somewhere else, which is totally okay. But that's one thing we're looking for as well, so that's why we're trying to navigate and have all these meetings to see what we can do to improve VIA more, and then with the funding as well. With microtransit is going to be one of the ones that we're most like in Longmont.
I would imagine
Yeah.
it's going to have impact on your demand.
Yeah,
Inter-city.
yeah, most definitely.
Brandy, did you want to say something?
No, we
Oh,
were,
okay.
sorry, having
Sorry.
a side comment. Apologies.
Okay, any other questions? It's been very informative, very.
And I'm sorry, I didn't even use the projector.
Yeah.
That's because we're so used to just talking and stuff using this, but I'm so sorry I didn't.
Oh, once you get this group going,
Yeah.
ask questions forever.
And any questions that I don't answer, I apologize, but I will bring those up in the meeting today, most definitely, letting them know our concerns,
Yeah,
and
we'd appreciate some feedback on that,
yeah, most definitely, I'll have.
either to Ronnie probably.
Yeah.
Um,
I'll have Lisa or Adriana reach out to you as well about those concerns or questions. Yeah.
And I'll take any brochures
Yeah,
you can
so-
today.
How many? I brought 25 because I wasn't sure.
Take them home.
I will take them all. I maintain our resource closet. I will
Okay.
take them all.
Okay. And if you need more, we can mail them out or I can bring them to you as well. And then once I get the Spanish ones, I can bring those as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Martha, did you get your issues raised?
Yes, I have other questions, that's okay.
All right.
We'll go ahead and leave it up.
Okay. Just take out the.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you.
Okay.
Did you guys need me for anything else?
Nope, I think that's it. Well, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Very good. And now I'm going to my next meeting so I can let them know.
We really didn't mean to put you on the hot
Oh,
seat.
no,
but-
it's fine. It's
but-
very, I was telling, so my presentations that I've had was only 3 people or
Uh-huh.
a couple people, or sometimes I went, but it was just so this is my second one by myself.
Oh,
So I was a reservationist, but I moved into the mobility department. It's gonna be about a year. So I was a reservationist for 3 years. Yeah, so I know how it's been with our writers.
well, you did a good job.
Yeah,
You
thank
did.
you guys. All right, you guys have a good day.
Appreciate it.
So it's gonna be 5 years, but I had left for a year, but I came back. So now it's gonna be my 4th year, but now I'll be with mobility.
Good job.
Yes, thank you guys. Right.
Okay, thank you. Can we go through the old business first, or do you want to move it into yours first?
No, I just have to leave here about 11:40. I have another meeting at
11:40, did you say?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
And I have to leave in about 10. Did you want me
Oh,
to?
okay.
talk?
We'll leave that then. Let's just go ahead.
Oh, sure.
Did you want to go, maybe you have something to go first?
We have to leave,
So-
when did you say?
Yeah, I have to leave in about 10 minutes. And you had asked if I could talk about trends here around mental health.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see, why don't you go, let's see. Why don't you go first then?
Okay.
Okay. Let me introduce this first. Mental health is a big deal. And I just read some information yesterday. I was amazed. It was in the ICMA data, and they said over the last few years, the mental health reports of need for services has increased 33%. Can you believe that? 33%, and it's just gotten, it's really boomed, so to speak.
Dave
Anyway.
asked us to kind of give an overview of what the city is doing and if we have any mental health investments. And my apologies, Dave, I had the presentation that I was going to send to you and Ronnie in draft, and I never sent it, so I will follow up with that.
Okay.
I meant to send it to you last Friday, so didn't do that. So Randy's going to talk about
Trends here.
trends here, and then I'll do more of
Very
an overview.
quickly.
All right.
So if you're not aware, we have counseling available through the Senior Center in kind of a number of forms. We have a peer support program. John is one of our peer support volunteers. For folks who don't have a diagnosable, very high level kind of mental health issue, who just need some support, that program provides support from another older adult to just give really a hand through normal aging issues, grief, struggles with folks' families, kind of what I would call the low-hanging fruit with mental health struggles that we all share as human beings. That program is really successful, and our peer support volunteers are also able to help people through a number of support groups here at the Senior Center, and they have started leading classes this year with Kaylee Schoenbeck, our licensed clinical social worker, who does counseling here on our team as well. The trends around what we see here, some of you have heard this, so apologies, but I don't think everyone has. We had a lot of folks who declined getting mental health treatment during the pandemic. They wanted to see somebody face to face. They really did not want to take us up on the options of getting service over the phone or over a program like Doxy on the computer, which was kind of like Zoom, but HIPAA compliant for privacy. So they waited. So we had a huge influx of folks getting counseling the last few years here at the Senior Center. And what we have seen in 2024 is that has finally leveled off, which is a relief, I think, for everyone involved, that folks are feeling sort of more settled in general. So we're seeing the trend of need be more what it was like before the pandemic. So for instance, sometimes our clinical staff, myself, and I have a very small caseload now that I supervise some of the staff, but Kaylee has more of a normal caseload. We sometimes have a wait list, sometimes we don't. That was normal before the pandemic. We had a solid, nonstop, unmanageable kind of wait list from 2021 when we reopened until early this year. So that has quieted down. Right now we have a wait list, but there's only 4 people on it, which is pretty manageable. Whenever somebody does come to us for counseling and either we have a wait list or we feel like we're not the right specialist to help them, or if they're not actually asking us for counseling, they're actually just trying to find a practitioner in the community who takes Medicare, which a lot of people call for help with because it's really hard to figure that out on your own online. We keep a list of referrals. We have a handout version of this and kind of a clinician version of this where we keep our own notes. Where we've got folks who will see people privately in their homes, see people privately online, although I got to tell you, still a lot of people don't want that option. And we just have this available for folks. We have some specialist information we keep around, are you a veteran? Are you struggling with cognitive impairment? Are you struggling with substance abuse, to be able to get more specialized treatment? So there is no one on our wait list who has not also been offered these other resources. And we do have quite a few people who contact us just to get those resources and they're gone. Sometimes too, when we follow up with folks who have been on our wait list, once we get through the list and we're to them, they have already gotten that help somewhere else. So that, again, feels pretty manageable right now. The trends about what bring people in are very consistent over time. The top 5 reasons people tend to come in. Number 1 is grief around people in their life dying, and especially friends, siblings, right? When you outlive the people you love, getting into older age can feel like a struggle around grief. Loneliness, general losses, different kinds of losses, adjusting to major life changes, which could be retirement, physical changes, health changes, becoming a family caregiver, and then conflict with family. Looking at the data from this year so far, what I found really interesting is that all of that stays true. It's pretty much the same, but anxiety levels have actually gone down, which I would not have assumed in an election year. Usually in election years, actually we see a huge spike of anxiety, but this year we've seen less. What we've seen a lot more of are folks struggling with medical issues and physical challenges. And that might just be reflective of the sort of average age of folks coming into the senior center and the likelihood of developing physical problems and challenges as we age, right? But it was actually really nice and relieving to see that the anxiety level has come down a bit. Not at all what I expected. Otherwise, we're seeing the same general needs of what are bringing people in tend to very highly be around adjusting to major life change, dealing with grief, conflict with families.
Randy, will you talk about how we're addressing the need for Spanish-speaking services?
Thank you, yes. We have been working for many months. Christina has a little fund with the city that we are going to use to hire a clinician to provide services in Spanish. And it's a limited pool, but it's something as opposed to nothing that we have to offer ourselves right now. Right now, when folks come in who need Spanish referrals, we are connecting them with organizations like Salud, Centro Amistad, who have counseling services in Spanish, but we haven't been able to kind of get a quick one-on-one offer to somebody. So we have a clinician. We have a contract. She's coming on the 19th to have it notarized, so we're about this close to finalizing that. And we are requesting, I believe, from the Friends to pick that up going forward and provide a small amount of funding to just keep that contract going since we don't have a bilingual clinician.
And I have on my list to transfer that money to senior services so you can just manage it.
Thank you. So that is very exciting.
One of my questions is going to be, because let me tell you, it hasn't gone down, it's up, especially with our gente, okay? And it's really, really important, because anything that they can dish out and be helped to get the trust level also, you know?
Absolutely. And we have kept a list for years of private practicing clinicians who speak Spanish as well. It's just that most people can't actually afford that. So we finally just got creative around, can we hire a clinician and pay them ourselves?
Up to $120 an hour for a bilingual therapist. And so we know that our seniors just can't afford that, but still need the resource. So
we've also been networking to try to find a clinician who can do a grief support group in Spanish, because there's been a need for that group work. People get a lot out of group work because you get that validation that you're not the only one feeling this way, right? It's one thing to have a therapist say that to you. It's another thing to see 6 to 10 other people in the room who are going through the same thing. So we really like offering support groups. People get a lot out of that, and we're trying to find somebody to do a grief group in Spanish as well.
So Brandy, do you have to offer Spanish for caregivers?
Do you mean
Like
counseling
a group?
So there is a group called Círculo de Apoyo that started out as just a caregiving specific group, and we couldn't get enough people to come to it, so they expanded it to be sort of a general aging issues support group. But the person who leads that group has a lot of experience supporting caregivers, and that was her original intention for the group. So she still makes that need. It's just not only for caregivers, it's got a broader scope. Our resource specialists who are bilingual, Melissa and Veronica, also provide a ton of support and resources to caregivers in Spanish. And on that note, I didn't bring it, and I apologize because it didn't connect in my brain. Y'all had asked months ago if we could translate our resource rec card to Spanish. And Veronica Garcia worked on that a lot to identify a transcreation around language. It's not just a straight interpretation. How would you explain some of these services in Spanish? We've just gotten it printed about a couple weeks ago. So those are now in rotation. We've got them, they've been delivered to our center, El Comite and Salud. We've got them here in the building, and they also note that folks can talk to Veronica and Melissa about getting referrals for counseling.
It'd be good to get some to the youth center as well, because we have a lot of multi-generational families that, parents come in looking for resources for their kids and for their parents as well.
Do you want those in Spanish and English?
Yeah, you can send them to Claudia.
So that, I apologize, is all the time I have this morning. But if anybody has more questions about sort of our specific services here, myself and Kaylee Schoenbeck, the sort of more functioning counselor on the team, since she's got the real caseload of counseling services, would be happy to talk with you at any time. You can just schedule a time with us to talk more about what we offer.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Brandy.
Thank you.
Now, a person that needs no introduction.
I don't know if that's good or bad, Dave.
Christina's going to talk about mental health with us.
Sure. So David originally asked me to talk about, but his first question was, does the city have an interest or investment in mental health? And interestingly enough, that was one of the big areas that our department works in, not only in senior services, but in our clinician program, through our permanent supported housing, and of course through children, youth, and families, and then of course in the health and well-being focus area that we have funding through our human services funding program. And we can talk a little bit more about that. So again, just to talk a little bit more about what we can cover today is what the focus on mental health looks like. We take it from a center of excellence approach, and I can talk a little bit about what we do there, why this team is taking this on, and then how we're building into larger community and county efforts I'll share with you. So what we know is that more than 50,000 Americans died by suicide in 2023. That's more than any year on record, and it follows an overall increase of about 5% from the prior, from 2021. So we also know that in Longmont Housing Authority, what we needed was more support for our formerly unhoused individuals living in permanent supportive housing. We needed to support them with more robust services. This was critically important, especially for those experiencing mental health challenges. And we know that housing and homeless impacts almost every part of our city business. As I thought about it, there really isn't any area that isn't impacted by housing and homelessness. We also know that Longmont has changed. I started working in Longmont in 1999. And it very much so had a very, very small town feel. We're now over 100,000 population, and so we're quickly becoming a large city. There's still that little hometown feeling, but it's really changed. It's changed even pre-pandemic. So part of what our city manager's philosophy on us working together in different departments, part of the philosophy that he has is working from a center of excellence model. And what that means is that he's really asking us to align our purpose and our vision around the work that we're doing in each of our departments. And really the bigger picture to that is that it helps fill the service gaps that we have. So there's also other reasons outside of Longmont that we want to create a mental health center of excellence. We know that that we are facing unprecedented staffing and economic pressures in the wake of the pandemic. And so Randy very eloquently talked about the trends that we have seen and the needs that we have. We didn't previously have any Spanish-speaking support for our senior community here in terms of mental health, and so we knew that was a gap, and we needed to try to figure out how to fill that gap. Colorado ranks about 45th nationally when it comes to access to behavioral health care. So Boulder County, of course, fares a little better. I have a link to a dashboard, to a state dashboard that really gives an overview of what that health professional shortage looks like, both from that mental health piece of things. You can kind of narrow it down to county level or community level data. We know that bilingual and bicultural service providers are hard to come by, and those that have the specific practice areas. So those who work well with seniors, who have developed that part of their practice, we know that we're lacking there. We also know that without a place to support long-term behavioral health patients out of the hospital, what we see is that people won't get better. Their crisis will continue, and they'll probably end up back in the hospital. And that's not what we want. We want people to be in the community, to recover in the community, and to really thrive in the community. So back to talk about a little bit more of our Mental Health Center of Excellence framework. What this is it's a team that builds up specialized expertise in different areas. So if you think about how hospitals work, if you've ever been in the hospital, you have people with different specializations that really kind of wrap around you and work with you to get better. You may have a respiratory therapist. You may have a physical therapist. You also have maybe an internist, and all sorts of people with different backgrounds that really come around you to help you get better, right? And so that's the take that we have put into place for this specific area as well. So we want to bring together people in our organization that have different skills, different knowledge, and really promote that consistency, efficiency, and excellence across all areas. And what we want to do is centralize that so that people get the best care that they can get. Our primary purpose of a Center of Excellence is to optimize essential processes and serve as a collaborative hub. We want to look at best practices and benchmarks for performance and really tackle mental health in this case and really foster that continuous improvement. How can we not only tackle this but continue to be better? So our team within the Center of Excellence brings all of their expertise, and instead of working in different silos, in children, youth, and families, in senior services, in public safety, where we have mental health services, instead of working in silos, we come together as a team and say, okay, how can we leverage what we're doing to make the biggest impact on this issue? It really acts as a go-to for leadership, so that they know kind of where we're heading, what's needed, and the rest of the organization can also access and learn from these experts. So whether it's issues in the library or the museum or any of our rec centers, we have this Center of Excellence that is comprised of mental health providers where people can go to get that information. So again, we talked about housing and homelessness, that it is, oh, this is a duplicate. Oh, apologies. Okay. We know that with mental health, there's an increase in the acuity, in the severeness. We need to support formerly unhoused. We need to do that with teamwork. And really, at the end of the day, it's part of our work plan and part of our directive from City Council, from our city manager. We know that we have the solutions, or the expertise and possibly the solutions. What we've seen as we move forward with this is that there was some real success that we learned from in our neighborhood impact work. And so we have a neighborhood impact team where if there are issues in a specific park, we come together. That's out of the Community and Neighborhood Resources Department. They will help us address issues in parks, and they do that by bringing people from different departments to come together to solve those issues. So we've worked with Lanyon Park. I think we've done some work in Centennial Park as we see things kind of get difficult in some areas of the city. This team comes together. And so we really learned from that model and thought that it would be a good idea to kind of implement that same model with regards to mental health. So what we have, as I said, we have clinicians, mental health services in children, youth, and families, in housing and community wellness. So that's our clinician program. That's the newest one. We also have clinicians and mental health supports in public safety, and then of course here in senior services. And so what we have done is come together to figure out how it is we can leverage our expertise a little better. And then once we have that figured out, there's also the Boulder County Behavioral Health Roadmap where this work is happening on a larger level. So this is driven by the county. What that looks like, they did, I don't know how many of hundreds of focus groups, different ages, different demographics across the board. And what they've done is to look at creating this behavioral health roadmap. How can we create now a county structure that is going to best address and meet the needs in this specific area? The other piece that fits into this is that there was part of the reason I think that there was kind of some restructure that happened to our department is because we knew that these were some really big issues that we needed to confront. Prior to, let's see, 3 years ago, our community services department was comprised of 7 different divisions. We had children, youth, and families, senior services, recreation, museum, library, and community and neighborhood resources, and housing. They were all under one department. And so you can imagine all of the things that needed to be focused on there. I think it was really hard to do that. And so through this restructure, what Harold and the leadership team did was really parse that out. We have recreation and culture, which we have recreation and the museum and library in one department. We have community neighborhood resources in another department. And then our department is senior services, children, youth, and families, and our funding program that funds nonprofits as well as the work that we do with our unhoused population. The other piece that they implemented was that our human services department director now needs to be a licensed mental health professional because of the importance that we place in this area. And so my background is in clinical counseling, and so I've been licensed since 1997 and provided individual, family, group counseling, and then really moved into the supervision piece of that. And so when you look at the importance and kind of where the city goes with that, the city does realize that this is a big issue. Like, it's one of the root causes for a lot of the issues that we see in our community. More on the Boulder County Behavioral Health Roadmap, kind of that bigger plan. It's a shared vision where people can get the right mental health supports at the right time. Like I said, it was developed through a highly collaborative manner with more than 600 community stakeholders and focus groups that happened. The goals and strategies and solutions are really shared, and we want to move the county collectively to this. I serve on the Executive Advisory Board, and it's really comprised of leaders across the county. So we have the Community Services Director from the county. We have Clinica Family Health and Wellness Director. We have many kind of executive leadership that is on that board. And then I also provided kind of a link to that overall framework if you want to read a little bit more into that. That link will be here in this PowerPoint. And then finally, you know me, and I'll take any questions.
I understand the senior services end of it. Can you explain public safety a little bit? How do they deal with that? Do they send it to somebody, or do they actually have people involved that can handle that?
A little bit of both. So what they have is it's the LEAD program, Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion. So what they have is when there is a call where there might be a mental health nexus to that call, a clinician will go out with an officer who is trained in kind of this mental health model. They will go out to provide that intervention. And so the goal is not to arrest the person, but it is really to help them navigate the mental health piece of things and get them connected to resources.
So is it your dispatch person? So the first call would probably come in there. So is it your dispatch person then that determines that this may need a lead person to go? Okay. That's pretty heavy.
It is pretty heavy, yeah. It is pretty heavy, and these clinicians, they wear bulletproof vests. They go out with officers to do that. Lonnie and then
My one thought as you were going through things was, it was really good to see that we are getting away from leaving everything up to the police. Where they're the only ones that respond, and they have to, decide what to do and all of that. We've seen it nationally where people are saying, they should have clinicians that go out with police now when there's certain calls being made. There's certain help that should be available other than police officer. And I think that's so important, and I kept hearing that as you were going through all the information, and it kept getting bigger. Like the thought of what you're not leaving up to the police, but bringing into the area where it should be, got bigger and bigger as I heard you speak. And I was so glad to hear that, because I think that's something that we all know needs to be addressed. And so I was happy to see that that's really the direction you guys are going in, because I think it's going to help keep people from getting in trouble when they don't have to. Absolutely. And getting the help they need when they do need it, and finding ways to deal with things other than ways that are going to get them in trouble. So I'm so encouraged to hear all that. I think that's fabulous.
Really important work, and what we've seen, let's see, we've had clinicians at the suites since June. What we have seen is a marked decrease in the number of police calls for kind of lead engagement. At this point, we do have people that are used to that, and they continue to call. But now what we have, because we have built this Center of Excellence team, is that we have the clinicians working closely with the LEAD program to say, okay, this person called, we don't think that it is an emergent issue. Can you connect with them to make sure that they're okay and that they don't need any more, and that hospitalization, for example, isn't on the table. We don't lead with hospitalization. We want people to be in the community and thrive, but that has been a really good partnership, and so we're going to continue to to develop that and see how it looks, and see what more we can do to improve that system.
I think it's a good direction.
And I can say that the program is really neat, well, because I'm part of the comité. When it was born, the two Hispanics, I was one of the co-founders. We're leading to the communication with the police department. That's when she was saying, where is public safety, police department. So, yeah, they've gotten to get them involved and get those people to the right department where it's needed. And it's really crucial and important. And that's how you get your community to come together and understanding, because they're, you know, you don't want to see them in the hospital, you don't want to see them in jail. You want to see them, where can they fix their life and go on to it and be part of the community instead of being negatively out there.
John?
I heard the in your department, you've got the director that supports the nonprofits here. What's I heard you say unhoused issues also. Well, what's happening with that?
So Eliberto is basically the liaison to our homeless shelters. So to Hope and to All Roads, formerly Boulder Shelter, and so he is involved in everything from policy to the kind of notification on the city side if there's cold weather sheltering. And so that's the whole second part of the position that he does. And so he also helps to, we have 12 locally controlled vouchers that the city funds, housing vouchers. And so he is part of the group that vets people to get them placed into those vouchers as they become open. And so he has a lot of, he does a lot of work with that, with our collaborators. So his job is huge, just like, you know, Ronnie and Phil does. Yeah, there's lots of moving pieces and very few people in our department. So, yeah. Any other questions?
I just want to make a comment, is that, you know, Longmont, I think we're really blessed with the community that we have. I tell you, we have a lot of great things.
Could you speak up, Art?
I said we have a lot of great things in this community for the people. And I can tell you that I came to Longmont about 25 years ago, and I'll tell you, they were lacking in a lot of areas, especially some of these things you're talking about as far as the services that are available. And the other thing is I look at some of the things that are going on even here at the center with bilingual people here, bilingual on the police department, bilingual leaders. And I tell you, there's always room for improvement. But I'll tell you one thing, I've known Christina for over 20 years. And I know
25 years when I started working with you. Yeah.
We're fortunate to have her and others in this city. And I just want to say thank you to you. And I'm so glad to say, Harold saying, hey, I want you leaders to get involved in these different things also. Because that's what's needed. If it doesn't come from the top, it's not going to get done.
And I learned from a good leader. I was in Arts Middle School as an interventionist when I first started working for the city in 1999. So 25 years ago this month. So, yeah. So I got to see that.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you. On the 15th, yeah. So the other thought that I had as I know that part of what you all want to do is really appeal to Harold to give him this data, what you have learned, whether it's in food security, transportation, mental health. Part of what Randy and I were talking about, an idea that occurred to me is the other area that you may want to consider. Writing a memo to our Longmont Housing and Human Services Advisory Board. So they're Eliberto's advisory board, basically, that vets the applications for nonprofit funding. We fund a little over $1 million, like $1.3 million to over 50 nonprofits here at Longmont. Nonprofits that serve Longmont people. And so part of what you might want to do when you have decided kind of what kinds of recommendations that you would want to provide to City Council or to Harold around the issues that you're studying, part of what you might want to consider is also writing a memo to the Housing and Human Services Advisory Board. This is what we've learned about seniors. This is, you know, this might be a good focus for funding. I think that that's something that they could take into consideration. Ultimately, they make recommendations for funding. They're kind of the board that does that for City Council. And then City Council looks at that recommendation and either agrees or says, you know, we want to do something different with that funding. Eliberto and I are going to go present now, I think the second Tuesday in December, the funding recommendations that this board has for 2025. And then that process will start up again in June. And so I think that might align with what you all are looking at, and you might be able to, you know, provide some of that data to this board for 2026.
So you're saying that besides us making the recommendation to Harold, and besides us doing the recommendation to City Council, we should also
You could
make a
consider that.
recommendation to Health and Human Services?
You could consider that, yeah. You
Okay.
could say, we are this board, we are the Senior Services Advisory Board. This is the data that we have in food insecurity or food security, transportation, like whatever you decide to present to Harold and Council, that might be something that you want to consider.
When would they do that?
So we're in the process where we're making a decision on 2025's funding. So then applications will open up again for nonprofits. I want to say, actually they're due in June, I believe. I want to say that they open up March, April, maybe? And then June, they're due. June or July, they're due. And then we, the advisory board reads all of those applications, scores all of those applications, and then they provide funding recommendations and amounts in November for the following year. So you have some time to consider that.
Yeah, well, I think that's really.
That would be for 2026.
So we wouldn't fill out an application?
No,
Right.
no,
Okay,
you
good.
could, but you could
We
say,
can make recommendations.
we're the Senior Center Advisory Board, we know that the population is going to look like this. These are some of the issues. I think that it would kind of help make those connections between advisory boards.
Sure. More people, you know, get information out to more people.
I'm struggling with one question. I can't. I just can't reconcile it.
Okay.
And everybody knows that, you know, the demand for mental health services seems to be increasing. And from what Randy says, with the current caseload, the clientele that you have, things seem to be imbalanced. The demand is roughly equal to the resources that are needed. And I don't challenge that. I'm sure that's correct. What sticks in my mind, though, is I just see this huge need for mental health services within the community that go beyond just the senior center. And so I'm thinking that should be part of our purview too. It doesn't have to be, you know, any recommendations we make don't have to be necessarily limited to the senior center. It could be just in general. So I guess I'm wondering, is that something we should focus on? I can give you rough numbers, and so can you, but I don't think anybody knows for sure just how many people in our community are lost,
Right.
so to speak, or within the Hispanic community, within the over 85 community, you name it. And so I know the city supports mental health efforts, you wouldn't be doing this. But is that a direction that we should encourage? I know there's stigma in the
That's
community.
exactly what I was gonna say. There's a lot of stigma
Yeah.
to people, looking for help, getting help, especially in the Latino community.
Yeah.
That's not something that is our go-to. Like, I'm
Yeah.
having issues, I'm gonna go see a therapist. Like, that's not something that we easily do.
Yeah. I remember 100 years ago when I was an undergraduate, that stigma was a big problem. Here, 60 years later, it's still a problem. So the point I'm getting to is I think those numbers we were talking about is affected, of course, by stigma. And particularly, I've been told, in the Hispanic community.
Absolutely.
So is that something that the city is thinking about?
So I think a couple of things. I think you hit the nail on the head when you talk about stigma. I think that probably part of what we're seeing in terms of the balance that Brandy talked about is that if you look back to this slide and you look at the health professional shortage in our specific area, we actually fare better than the rest of the state in that. And so if you look at, I'm from South Central Colorado, the Costilla County, which is very, very very few resources around anything. And so if you were to compare different counties, you would see that Boulder County fares better than other areas across the state. So there's that piece of things. And then the other piece of things is that you'll with the behavioral health framework or roadmap, you'll see, if you click on that, you'll see like the interviews that were done, the focus groups that were done, and you'll see some of the presenting issues that were identified. Stigma is one. I know that there is the lack of bilingual resources, that's another. And so I think that data will give you more to say this might be the focus. But I agree with you, across the board, whether it's seniors, it's youth, it's parents with young children, like there is that mental health piece of things, and oftentimes it's the root cause of a lot of things. Housing and homelessness issues, substance use issues. It's that mental health component that is that root cause.
Bonnie.
Do you find that, well, my first thought when you were talking just now is that we never grew up thinking we needed to ask for help. We just didn't. And if we didn't have it within our family to talk to people and stuff, then you just kind of toughed it out and figure you'd handle it on your own. Eventually it'll just kind of iron itself out or whatever. Do you find that younger people are more apt to ask for help? Are we growing out of that stigma age-wise, or do you find that they have the same reaction to asking for help as I just said that we do?
No, I think that it depends on the resources that are available. And so if you look at, like, for example, where I grew up, there were no mental health resources within the schools. But as I said, when I worked with art at Heritage Middle School, that was what I did. So they would see, behavior issues, or teachers would say, this kid is having a really hard time at home. They should go talk to you. And so having those resources, I think, makes people more likely to look for that help. And then if you have kind of the bilingual, bicultural, if you're sitting across from somebody that looks like you and speaks your language, whether you're, Anglo, African American, Latino, that is also going to make a difference. And so I think it depends. And there's some kids that are like, totally no, I'm not crazy. I'm not going to talk to anyone. It really depends on, I think, where the resources
It's building the trust level,
It's the
that
trust.
confidence, that you're okay, I think I can trust you. I mean, because way back, I remember, Mark and Christina, Heritage was considered, oh, a trouble school, I'm not gonna put my kid there. I had good teachers, it wasn't that bad, no. Parents sent kids to school to learn, not to be babysit by teachers or principals or whatever, you know? And that's the trust level that kids have to the parents who are going on. But he has grown, I mean, he's done a good job. I'm only for yeah.
We'll be back.
So Christina, can you go back to what that number was on the suicide? And do you have a idea of a breakdown on that? Because that's Americans that died.
Right.
So is that
There's a breakdown. I know that what we see.
youth and seniors and
Right.
that kind of,
I can dig into that more, but what I know is that, it kind of follows the trend with, it follows every other trend, that, we would see, people of color would have a higher representation. We would see that LGBTQ individuals across the board have a higher representation when you talk about suicidality. But let me look into that. I'll get that back to you.
And then what would that number be for Colorado? Because I'm assuming that means the nation.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure the Kaiser Foundation has some good data.
A question on the model. I'm not sure I fully understand it.
This model?
I certainly understand this idea of silos. And I just hate the way agencies build silos around themselves. But I forgot my point. I'll come back to it.
So how we're working, so prior, the four, really before the Mental Health Center of Excellence, we all were working in our own lane. The idea is that we work together to really leverage what we can do within the city that's going to impact kind of the mental health issues, struggles that we have, get people the right resources at the right time, and then really look at how that feeds into the county framework.
Okay, I remember my question.
Okay.
Is that more of a, let's say Brandy has a problem with something that she needs some help with. So is this kind of like a staffing model? She would take it to the group and they'd staff it? And
At some point, yeah, we will have that staffing model. Because I just hired the clinicians in June, and the hope is we can expand on that model and have clinicians at different LHA sites and properties. But that is where we're ultimately going to get. Like, do we need to have a monthly staffing model every other month where, I have this really difficult case, a multi-generational family. How can we come together to kind of find the right services that will help this family? Would be the intent. The other piece that we're looking at implementing that Ronnie is a part of is we're now going to have the Salesforce platform so that so that children, youth, and families can track all their cases, senior services can track all their cases, and then we would be able to see kind of where that crossover was. If it's a family with a 3-year-old, a 15-year-old, and then grandma also lives in the household, how can we make sure that family gets everything they need? And we think that technology will help us track that a little better, because right now it's really dependent on who is in that position. And so Brandy retires, I retire, Hilda retires, like we would have to start all over again and make those connections, and that's what we don't want to have to do.
Well, I certainly like the idea. I just worry that the same silos that you got now might keep people from making it work. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, hopefully from people that access the services, they don't see any difference. It's kind of that one door approach, right? So I'm going to go to
Brandy to talk to her about my 94-year-old mother and the struggles that she's having, but I also have a teenager. And so with that, Brandy in the system can say, okay, I'm going to send a referral or I'm going to connect you to Hilda at the youth center. And that it's kind of that one-door approach, but as a family, I'm getting everything I need. That's the goal.
Yeah. And the idea is to do this without additional staff, basically use existing resources.
Absolutely, always.
All right, other questions?
Thank you all.
That was really good.
Thank you, Christine. That was excellent.
Well, let's see, where are we? Okay.
Old business?
Yes, old business. I started to say that we have our presentation to Harold coming up and with the city council, depending on what we decide. We really should be getting those things in order, thought out as to how we're going to present them. So I'm just mentioning that. So maybe by the next meeting, we should give maybe an outline of the kind of things that we're thinking of. Because all of a sudden, it's going to be February.
Right.
We're out of time. That's what happened last year. We kind of ran out of time. So I'm just reminding everybody. Having said that, transportation, Arlene, do you have anything new?
No, everybody got a copy of this, my report. Are there any questions? Microtransit should be starting in December. I know that we had talked about having them come and talk. I think we are going to be way into next year before we have them come in, by the time that they run for several months and figured out how it's working and whatnot, but basically that's where that's at.
In your report, you said Longmont's working with RTD to provide bus service from Longmont to the hub to eliminate. Is there anything new there, or is it just?
No, just that they have gotten a contract with RTD so this is the way that I kind of vision it, is that I would call Microtransit and say, okay, I need to get down to the RTD bus, and then the RTD bus is going to take me over to the hub, and then the hub is going to take me, the bus staying over there is going to take me down to Denver, to the Union Station, then the Union Station, I'll pick up the train to the airport. So that's going to become a reality. And I think it's going to be very reasonable, okay? The thing everybody's going to have to realize is it's going to take time. You know, if you were to drive down there or you were to take the shuttle down there, it would just take you right straight to the airport. This is going to be very reasonable, but it's just going to take you time to make those connections and get down there. But it's going to be available.
It's coming, huh?
It is, and I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Okay, housing, Lonnie?
Hi. The person that happened to be at our AAC meeting, for the first time, was actually before this meeting and not after it. So I get to present, in my report, you'll see I presented 2 months worth of information. But the big thing was housing was the issue at the AAC meeting. So this is the Boulder County Housing Guide. It is not ready for distribution yet. It's still being fine-tuned. But the gentleman wanted to bring it to us and show it to us. So it will be coming out soon as it's available. Of course, we'll have it available here. I'll bring a copy to everybody at whatever is the next board meeting, and everybody will have an opportunity to have it.
Oh, good.
So other than that, I put a link in about the Zinnia housing, which is the housing that Christina is referring to as far as having the extra counseling and things like that, the clinician there. And other than that, there's really nothing. The Ascent is coming up. It's going to start construction. They really aren't committing to any dates at all. And I found an article about affordable home ownership program, inclusionary housing. So I put that in the report too. in case anybody's interested in getting more information. And that's pretty much it for housing.
Can I just talk about this book a little bit?
Oh, sure.
Okay, so when this is available for everybody, the information in here is excellent because it breaks it down by independent living, gives you the places that are available in the county, broken down by Boulder, Longmont, Nederland. Then it goes into assisted living, it goes into long-term care, and it goes into places that are available that would be market. So I think the information in here is going to be really, really good when we get it. So it's coming.
Good.
And we're very happy about the update, you know, that the new information is really new and it's been a while since they had the Boulder County Housing Guide. So they're really happy to get everything updated and the new information out to people who need it. So again, as soon as we get it, I'll be making it available to everybody on the board and we'll take it from there.
Good. John?
Lonnie, where is the Zinnia housing again? I know
It's-
up north.
No, the Zinnia is over near South Sunset and 119.
Across from the Subaru dealership.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Oh.
behind the Subaru dealership.
Oh,
Right,
okay.
next to the
Between the
suites.
Howard,
Oh, yeah.
right next to the suites.
Right,
And
yeah.
behind that is the mall.
Village on Point,
Right.
Yeah.
So
And they have a
Thank you.
huge pothole.
they always have had that. It's been there for like that.
Yeah.
Did you fall in?
It's
Yeah, it's
big
crazy.
Really?
Traffic control.
to get into.
Yeah, it's traffic control, right?
All right, John.
Thank you. So the Food Insecurity Group, we remember Naomi Curlin did a report from the Longmont Food Rescue. Met with Ronnie to move some of the thoughts that had come up there. Two things in particular. One was to look at the establishment of a refrigerator here. That's not going to work out for a lot of practical reasons and logistical reasons. We're now measuring or looking at the idea of having food table back here on Saturdays between 8 and 12. You always got to go back to her board and more to retailers to see if she can pick up and deliver on Saturdays. There's the issue of storage. We looked at having her come on Friday. Storage of the food became an issue. So Ronnie, she and I talked last week. And there's a window, Saturdays 8 to 12, if Naomi can pick up food from Whole Foods, Safeway, whatever. They don't typically have people available on Saturdays, so she's working that logistical issue out. If she can, there seems to be some real good support to have it here. 8 to 12, they bring it in, set it up, distribute, clean up, and we're done by 12. So that's going to, the ball's back in Naomi's court to see if they can do it, provide that service. She knows the food's out there, she just can't, she's not sure she can pick it up, or get it here on Saturdays. Connected to that is, we also met, Anna and I met with the development director over at the Hour Center. We had a bit of a tussle early on because it looked like we were encroaching on some of the issues they were involved in. We settled that. But they really want to be helpful. They're hiring a new director of food services to see if the same thing here from 8 to 12 on Saturdays with their support. So that's going to wait until they get the food service director to see if they can do it. There's a lot of support for helping seniors, involving seniors and whatever. In talking with Lonnie, some of the communication issues to get the word out. Come back to Lonnie's discussion about how we might get the word out to all communities. We'll talk about that in a second. But there's real support for getting support for seniors and food insecurity issues. The other issue is we went out and we met with the community neighborhood group back in August, trying to find out where we might address issues of food insecurity. And there's a lot of information available that came back to me with the staff and with Guillermo. They got a map. I don't know, when did you get a chance to look? There are a couple maps that were available. Christina, I'm glad you're with me because I'm talking really nice about your group. So I'm not going to be here embarrassing you with it.
Oh, it's upside down.
They're a good group.
They are a great group. So anyway, we get these maps to try and identify where issues of food insecurity are most intense.
Thank you.
And The maps show us that. The maps show a lot of different things, but there's not enough information yet. For example, they'll show us where there are food deserts, where people have trouble getting food, where there are major shopping areas, Circle K or what have you. We can see where there are areas where there are certain income levels that are affected. But the city map stops, the lowest income level they have is 35,000. That doesn't address poverty levels in other parts of the city. We can see where there are people 65 and over, but it doesn't tell us where people 55 and over are living. It's out there, we just couldn't find where. So with Christina's help, come back to that in a second, there seems to be some other maps available to us. The one that we have here is, again, really wonderful, but doesn't give us the broad enough picture of the people we're trying to serve. Seniors in the Latino community, multi-generational families, people affected by income shortages, whatever. That seems to be available. Christina's going to help with that. Her group's going to help with that. So all told, it's pretty interesting to see. There's also a larger map that we want to see we might put up here, so people can identify where they live. Identify where they live, and they're coming here for Meals on Wheels. We're going to assume there's some shortage of food and we're having support. That's something we can address through these other maps. So all in all, it's moving. You'll find this to be a surprise. Slowly, but surely. The last meeting we had was the most amazing meeting, and it goes to the point you made, Art. It's an amazing city with amazing resources. I'm surprised they get as much done with the resources they don't have. But we met with Christina, Ronnie, Hilda, and Alberto in the Human Services Department, and they're an amazing group of people. And their commitment to this city and the people here is amazing. We'll let Arlene talk about the specifics of the meeting, but the end of the meeting was, there's a real connection between youth services, Alberto's group, and the senior center to get information out to people that seniors not served, and sort of back into multi-generational families and back into other not served groups here in the city through the senior center and through food and security. So, I mean,
basically, John's covered a lot. I think that one of the things that was, and you brought this up about silos, the fact that we were able to meet with the different sections in the city brought us together with, okay, youth and family services. I think there's a way that we can communicate through them to get to the seniors when we get our food distribution site going, that they will, the kids will take notes home. They'll take notes home. They know where their grandparents are at. If they're living with them, they're living next door, they know what's going on. So that's one way that we're going to be able, I think, to do a communication that way. Aliberto talked to us about right now, as far as grants go, they have about $175,000 that they have given out to grants that work with food. So for instance, you would have WIC, you would have the Angel Heart, those type of places that provide food. That it goes, yes, to people, not just seniors, but it goes to other people as well. And those are the kind of things that we need to know, and Christina mentioned it as well. We need to find out what is out there, what's available, and get our foot in the door as far as the seniors go. But we don't want to forget that the senior is probably living with a family. And so that family we need to incorporate them somehow or another as well. And then the maps that I held up. So I think the interesting thing about this map is that the really dark areas are showing you the senior population. And like John said, it does right now it's only 65 and over, so we've asked for, can we get it from 55 up? But you can see the parts of the city where this is at. And if we provide a site at the senior center, we're hitting a lot of that. And we're looking at other sites as well. So those are things that we're looking at right now. And I'm hoping we get that big map, because that big map shows the areas that, okay. So this area here is Ward 3. This area down here is Ward 2. This area over here is Ward 1. So you can kind of see, we get the bigger map, it's going to be better delineated for everybody. But that's kind of where we're at right now.
Ultimately, having award maps gives us specific council members to go back and speak to. Once we've identified the area, once we've decided where the food insecurities are, we can hone in on specific support from specific council members. And that's ultimately takes us back to the city manager, ultimately back to the city council. So, moving slowly, very slowly, but steadily.
Welcome to government.
Yeah, really.
Is there a plan to start, John? Is there
There's a great plan to start.
Is there a date or a date?
It was
Now
September.
getting down to specifics.
I know before we talked about September 1st, but that's long gone.
Yeah, I think what was interesting is that there's, the food's out there, the need is out there, the support is out there. And I think like for example, it's Christina's department, there's a lot of energy to get things done.
Yeah.
We just need to be able to focus on our issue, which in this place is food insecurity for seniors and their multi-generation families. It's honing in on it. I think it's there. I think we'll have a cogent presentation to make to the city council. Christina's offered to help, Jeff at Parks and Recs is offered to help. So there's lots of energy behind it, and the focus is getting better.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. We're getting closer to, I think it's gonna come down to food insecurity for multi-generational families. Because then we can combine resources, all the resources inside the Human Services Department.
I see where we have to do that.
Yeah. That came up in the last meeting, was a really big find for us. The support's here, we just have to focus it down. Who do we best support?
Okay.
And one quick suggestion I made was that we can utilize the, something as simple as the Friday folders from the school department. We could put information about food availability in the folders to pass on to their parents and grandparents or whatever. And hopefully that would help us with multi-generational families getting the information out. And we could do it in English and Spanish.
And Ronnie, you're in agreement with this for Saturday mornings?
And we were looking at starting with one Saturday a month. Correct. Yes.
One Saturday
Yeah.
a month.
Yeah, and then we'll see where that, what
See where it goes for like, what, 6 months or something?
Yeah, so we'll put it in an evaluation period.
Yeah.
Like we do everything, right, just to
Uh-huh.
see the need, if we're meeting the need, assessing the need, and be able to make decisions based off of that information.
That's great.
But yes, you know, working with John, and I appreciate John and Arlene's help with all of this, you know, conversations that we've had to get move this work forward. And that's where we landed. That would make that make the most sense with space, staff, and availability in our facility. So yes, for Saturday.
Good.
Okay, actually, John, you folks, you've done a good job. You really have. And you're further along than I thought you would be, actually, honestly.
That's good to hear.
I have a better, maybe I have a better perception of how difficult it is to work in government.
Baby steps,
Yeah,
right?
we'd be further along.
Yeah, good work, you guys.
Good job.
All right, let's see. Got 7 minutes left. Let's see how should we do this. Election of officers. This will just take a minute. Christina escaped. I asked her, and she was going to give me an answer, and she probably forgot about it. Election of officers. Normally, that's supposed to be done after the board is appointed, you know, new boards, which would be January. And I was thinking, I'll ask your opinion, and we'll do it either way that you want. But I was thinking, if we do it in January, if we have 2 or 3 new members, you got 2 or 3 members voted on people you don't know for the officers. And so maybe it would be better to do that in December, say the end of the meeting in December. And so I asked Christina that same question, and she said, well, she was going to talk to the city clerk. I guess I just didn't talk to her. What do you think about that? Or would you rather just stick with January like we've done it before, or what?
So, Dave, your bylaws actually say your annual meeting is in February, which would be the time that you would elect your officers. So are you saying we want to change that?
No, we've done it in January for the last a few years. You know, I know what you're saying about February, but, you know, I guess we can do that if you want to wait until February, but what I read in the ordinance was it's done after the appointment of the members, the new members. But you're saying it also specifically says February?
The election is February?
The annual meeting.
The annual meeting.
When
Yeah,
you
the
have
annual
your
meeting is in
election.
February.
When you would.
But we haven't done
normally
it that
have your-
way, so it's been in January.
Dave, who are the 4 applicants for the board?
I don't know. Let's see, Eric?
Well,
I don't know if we can share that
yeah,
Okay,
publicly.
all right.
Well,
okay.
last time, we actually got copies of their applications that the city clerk said we could have, so.
Okay, let me look into that. I'll check into that
Yeah.
and see if it is for, and if so, I can send it out to the board. Or if it is just, is it just those who are participating in the interview? I'll find out that answer and I can communicate that out whole board.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll just table that then. It certainly would, it would be, Christina didn't have any problem with it, but like I say, she was going to check with the city clerk. But we can defer that to the next meeting.
Dave, is that because you want only people who know the current group?
That was my
About-
thinking, yeah. Well, we don't have to do it that way, it's just a thought. Because I know at the first meeting that I had, we voted on the new officer, and I didn't know anybody.
Dave, I think February being my first month doing the minutes,
Mm-hmm.
it was done in February because I was present for that time.
Well, if we're gonna do it according to the ordinance, I suppose we need to do it in February then.
I still think it's good for the board to start thinking about recommendations for each board role. So come February, you know, it helps that process.
Yeah, give us a little more time. You know, there's different, you know, how should we do this? Should we just, like we did it before, we just throw it open to the floor and ask for nominations, and we close the nominations and we vote on whoever we got? Worked pretty well before. We could do it like Friends. The Friends group formed a nominating committee and they went through all that stuff. And then they made a recommendation to the full board and then they voted on it. But that seems like a lot of monkey business to me.
I like, you know, we know the people on the board here. but
Yeah.
I think it's easier just to go
I'm okay with that formality.
make
is
the
necessary.
nominations and elect them. And
Yeah.
whatnot.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, so we'll we'll leave it the way we've been doing it before and possibly do it in February rather than January. And we'll leave that until next time after we've had a chance to talk to Christina. But I guess the way it stands, we do it at the annual meeting in February. That's one more meeting. All right. On the reports, does anybody want to add anything to the reports?
Mine doesn't do with managers.
I'll do mine real quick, be
Okay.
mindful of time. I'll just
Okay.
hit on some key things. Everybody has my report.
Mm-hmm.
Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and catch me after. But, you know, key things, January 1st, board meeting, we moved that to January 2nd. And based on senior center availability, it will not be in this room, it'll be in room D down the hall by the billiard room. Same time, 10 to 12, but we went from January 1 to January 2.
Did we decide to do it on the following Wednesday? Did we talk about that?
The board, yes, we discussed it last board meeting.
I don't remember that. I thought we were going to decide whether we were going to do it the next day or the
Perfect. What do you want
following
to
week.
do? Let's talk about it now then. What do you want to do?
So instead of moving it to Thursday, we move it to the following Wednesday?
Yeah, which would be January 8th.
All right, well then who thinks we should move it to Thursday?
I don't care.
Yeah,
I think we
I
should
think
move it
I'm
to
okay.
I got one problem. I asked Michelle Webb from the Boulder County mental health, behavioral health roadmap she's working on. And I asked her to come and speak to us on January 8th. That can be changed. But I got that set for January 8th.
Do you want to vote on January 8th?
I don't know. Let me see. What do you think?
Well, how many people would like to see it on January 2nd.
I would, because I've got a conflict potentially on
Okay.
How many people would like to see it on the 12th? Or the
The eighth.
8th?
Well,
Does anybody care?
I don't care.
Really?
How many?
If we can, if nobody really cares, then we'll stick with the 2nd, because then Eric can participate.
all right.
I guess we gotta check on, presenter.
I'll have to change it with Michelle Webb, and maybe she can't make it that day, but that's fine.
Maybe the board could vote on option 1, pending that response, move it to the 2nd, option 2.
Okay, all right, let's just vote on it. Let's have a motion saying, let's have the meeting for January, on January 2nd. All right,
I'll make that motion.
okay, is there a second to that motion? Okay, Eric seconds it. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? January 2nd it is, okay.
So January 2nd, room D, 10 to 12. So again, by the room by the billiard room.
Okay.
Board interview updates. We do have our 2 board members helping, identified board members helping on interviews November 13th. As we discussed, I'll talk to City Clerk's office about applications to see if we can share that with the full board. So I'll check that and communicate by email the response I get. Friends Board, good news. Friends Board, with your support, advisory board, Friends Board has voted and approved on 2 new vehicles for senior service trips starting in 2025. That'll move us to 4 total vehicles. The whole purpose of that is to alleviate our wait list and get more guests participating on our trips.
Thank you, John.
That is just excellent.
Yes.
Excellent work.
They're running a great presentation to get them over the edge.
Perfect.
I just have a real
Congratulations
fast
to both of
question.
you.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
Are they both gonna be ADA?
They are. Well,
And
actually, let me double check. Well, they're ADA compliant, yes. Yes is the answer.
Will they have lifts?
So the lift, we are doing one lift, so that gives
Back
us.
or front?
It's a back lift, so that's the same as our current vehicle that we have one with the lift, one without. So now we will have 2 vehicles with lifts, so
Okay,
it's
so
the
by
same
back-
layout.
By back, it means back on the side.
Back
not
on the side, that is correct.
Is there any thought given to putting it in the front, which is more convenient?
We'd have to look at our budget, so we've been approved for $200,000 for 2 vehicles, with $100,000 for each vehicle. So we have to look at where that would fall. I haven't, in the research that I've done, I haven't seen any with our need, meaning a 14 passenger vehicle that has a front lift. So we have some things to consider on that one. So, but really what this puts us in a position to do is duplicate the 2 vehicles we have. Again, one with a lift, one without a lift, both ADA compliant and 14 passenger vehicles. So that we're excited about that. We're working with Fleet right now to get that purchase moving forward. Full-time bilingual office assistant position has been posted. We have 9 candidates, and I will be setting up interviews here in the near future, within this month of November here in the near future, to get those interviews going and get that position filled. So I'm very excited to have that. That's our only vacancy right now. And I'll end on this one. Amy Hodge, our Seniors Recreation Program Supervisor, has received the Colorado Parks and Recreation Association, CPRA, 2024 Marianne Logan Active Adult Professional of the Year Award. She was nominated and selected by her professional peers in the industry, who recognize Amy's dedication to her work serving the seniors in our Longmont community. So it's really good to see. We get the privilege of seeing the work she does for us every single day in person, and to see that her work is being acknowledged outside of the senior center and the community of Longmont amongst peers, her professional peers in the state of Colorado is fantastic. So a very great award for her to receive, and one that's very much well deserving. She earned it for sure. Yes.
Good for her.
Great.
I think a nice thing would be at the next meeting that we have a card of congratulations and we all sign it separately
That's good.
and give it to her. So I'll bring that in.
Okay, good idea.
Sure I bring one.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it speaks to the volume. John had mentioned it earlier, the dedication that our team has to serving the community of Longmont, and it's, we're very fortunate to have the group of professionals in senior services, but collectively in the city of Longmont as well. So very fantastic, very, very proud of her. And two quick ones, well, I'll end on those, but just these are quick ones. The Native American Heritage Month celebration last Saturday was a huge success. We had our door counter counted over 300 visits. We have to categorize it as visits because people are coming and going, but people are coming in and exiting different doors. So if you were here, we had a good amount of board members. We got Arlene here, Anna's here, Eric, and you were here, right? Just kidding, I'm just kidding, joking. John, I'm just joking. John was all over the place, that's why I'm joking with John. It was fantastic, those in attendance, and Maria was here. Maria was helping serve food. Yes. She had that giant line. Yes. Yes. And so, I mean, we had a great advisory board turnout, and it was just such a fantastic event. This is the first one I've done here, where we partnered in the community to do an intergenerational program. And, CYF, Children Youth and Family, has had success with this, with just youth, but we've for sure doubled the attendance, if not tripled it, from what they've had in the past. And again, and I wanted to highlight those who were in attendance can speak to the amount of people we had in this building.
It was the fry bread.
It was the fry bread, authentic fry bread, right? From our our northern Arapaho friends from Wyoming came down to provide to cook for everybody in attendance. And so it was just, yes, it really was. And so I just very proud of that event and our community turnout and the support that we've had. So now I'll end on that. I appreciate you all for everything you do. So thank you.
I have one quick question. Do you have any idea what the numbers look like for the telephone tutoring by Valerie? And
which one, sorry?
Aren't they doing tutoring in Spanish for seniors with the cell phones?
Yeah, so Valerie has a program set up. I have not had a chance to connect with her on how that's going, what that looks like.
I'll come.
Okay.
I was just kind of curious.
No, I don't, yeah.
Okay.
She's doing fantastic though, with collectively with our Spanish programs. She's doing a really fantastic job.
All right, any other business before this group today? Yes.
For senior citizen, for the AAC, for the Boulder County Agency on Aging Report, I put everything in here. Submissions for requests for funding from the state are now going on, and there's a whole process that you can see that they go through. But the big thing is we're planning our strategy for the Older American Day at the Capitol, which is Tuesday, February 13th. We had some advocacy discussions. We broke up into 3 groups and discussed how to present the issues listed and to talk with elected officials. We decided to invite the legislators that we would like to talk to a breakfast that morning, hosted at the Capitol by us. And we'll be fine-tuning plans for this meeting with elected officials. So if anybody has any input they want to give on what you think should be discussed with elected officials on the state level, let me know. We'll talk about it again in December, but be prepared. Excuse me. Be prepared. If you want to bring up any issues, if you want to present any ideas, and I'd be happy to take it back to the AAC and bring it up as another, something else that we could add to our list.
And remember, we have Sandra Cedar coming next week, next month.
Now, who is she?
She's the deputy city manager.
Okay.
So on that legislative day, that VIA, if there was a group of people, a bunch of nice group of people from Longmont that wanted to go, VIA would provide transportation. So
I was just going to ask that.
something to think about. Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
because that way, you don't have to worry about where you're going to park. Yeah.
All right, any other business? Good work, people. Good work.
Okay.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
John and Eric. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.